Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from beautiful, sunny, warm Southern Ontario. And today I am so excited to share with you the gorgeous Hydrangea Haven bundle from the Stampin' Up! January to June mini catalog. Now, I don't know what the weather's like where you are, but here we are finally feeling like spring. It is so lovely outside. I have crocuses blooming in my garden. After a long cold winter and the dark of COVID, it is so nice to see the sunshine. So I am all about spring this week. I've got lots of projects to share with you. I have a new online class launching today to share with you, and a really awesome fun fold. So can't wait to get going. I'm just going to give it a minute or so for people to join. I am going to pull up my page, my video on my iPad so I can see who's joining me. There we go. Let's see. We've got Gail and Deb. Hello, Helen and Sue. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope the weather is as beautiful where you are as it is here. So I'm going to flip the camera. We're going to get to it. And I think you're going to like the projects for today. It'll definitely put you in a spring frame of mind, even if the weather where you are isn't quite so springy. So give me a sec. All right, so let me just get this adjusted so we're centered. There we go. That looks pretty good. All right, so Hydrangea Haven is what we are all about. Now we're actually going to use products from the whole suite because it's, let's be honest, a gorgeous suite. But I am loving this stamp set and the dies. Now the stamp set is an awesome one for newer stampers because we have our images and some fantastic sentiments. In fact, I think it's so awesome that I'm actually going to do a simple stamping live on Friday evening with just the stamp set. So you're going to want to come back for that one. But today we're going to use the stamp set in coordination with the dies. Now these dies are fantastic. We can create beautiful 3D hydrangeas with these dies, and of course these ones are designed to cut out the stamped images, and then we have a couple of little label dies. So a really awesome versatile bundle, and we are going to get right to it. So the first card we're going to create today is this one. Now this is one that I posted yesterday. Features the dies and the DSP from the Hydrangea Hill suite, and then just the stamped image. So not a ton of stamping on this one. We're going to do some more stamping on the next one, but I wanted to kind of showcase the dies and the DSP. Hi Deb, hi Krista, hi Louise. Hope you all are doing well. Louise, congratulations on getting your first vaccination today. I saw you posted that earlier. That is awesome. Sure hope they get round to teachers at some point. All right, so here I have some of the beautiful Hydrangea Hill DSPs. So I'm using this pattern that has gorgeous hydrangeas on the one side and this sort of green gingham on the back. And then this one, which has a stripe on one side and sort of the Rococo Rose floral pattern on the other. So to start, this piece is 4 by 5 1/4 inches. This one is 1.5 by 5 1/4. So we're just going to simply layer that with the edge flush with the left-hand side. So we'll just add a little bit of adhesive here. And we'll get that stuck down. There we go. And then we are going to mat this on a piece of basic white. So this is cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So that's going to give us our nice narrow little border. I'm actually going to flip that over so I get a cleaner cut edge. All right, so we're going to layer that. I know it's a shame to not use this gorgeous, I love this pattern. I have hydrangeas in exactly this color right now. They are blooming. If you go to my blog today, I've got a photo of the gorgeous hydrangeas that I picked up at Costco on the weekend. They are stunning. All right, so there is our background. Now before we put this onto our card base, I have here some ribbon. So this is from the Flowers for Every Season ribbon combo pack, and it actually comes in white. It's got sort of a linen texture, and I wanted it to be in that same sort of pink family as the rest of the card. So I used my light Flirty Flamingo Stampin' Blends to color it, and it ended up just about a perfect color match for the DSP. So we're going to put this on about, I don't know, 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches up from the bottom. So I'm just going to add a little bit of a glue dot to each end, wrap it around, and stick it down. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and glue that onto our Rococo Rose card base. Now I had inky fingers when I was cutting this, so you can see my fingerprints on here, but that's okay. We're going to cover it up. So this is cut to 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4.25. So we'll fold in half along our score line. Hi Laura, how are you doing? I bet you were out enjoying this gorgeous weather today. We are going to add a little bit of adhesive to the back of our panel and just pop that onto our card base. And again, we've got that nice narrow border all the way around. Isn't it amazing the way the white just sort of pops? Just the teeniest little touch of white really makes that pop. All right, now we are going to build our hydrangea. So here I have several die cut pieces. So this, I didn't worry about this because we're not actually going to be needing that whole thing. But this is cut from Mossy Meadow cardstock. This is cut from Rococo Rose. So the first thing I'm going to do, is adhere this detailed die cut. Now I die cut this from this same DSP. Okay, I wanted it to have a little bit of texture against the Mossy Meadow, so you can really see that texture when I layer it like that. Now, I highly recommend when you are using these detailed dies, use the adhesive sheets on the back before you die cut, and it makes adhering them a snap. It can be a little bit fussy to apply liquid glue to these really narrow detailed die cuts. Now, I find when I'm layering these, I start with the biggest leaf, and I kind of center that one. And then I center my stem, and then I just kind of press the other leaves into place. Okay? Then I'm going to take a Rococo Rose die cut, and now you're going to see, just see how the detailed die only comes up that far. I'm not sure why they did that. It doesn't quite come all the way up. So I'm actually going to put this down a little bit lower. I'm going to trim off the excess at the top here. And we're going to glue that on right about there. Let's get that centered. Still got a little extra there to get rid of. Okay, and that's just going to compensate for the fact that that stem doesn't come quite all the way up. So we're going to add a little bit of adhesive here, and I'm going to adhere this right about there. Okay, and then here I have the exact same die cut, but this time I've die cut it from the DSP, so this same DSP, and it really makes it look like a head of hydrangea flowers. Now I'm going to show you a little tip for fluffing up the petals. So I'm not sure how well it shows, but can you see the little petals here? And these can be a bit of a pain to fluff up. So what I tend to do, I take the paddle end of my take your pick, and I kind of just bend my DSP a little bit. And you'll see that they're going to kind of sort of pop up a little. And then I just kind of take my paddle end and kind of tuck it in underneath and just sort of fold it up. And that is the quickest way that I have found to fluff up these little petals on these flowers. Now, I'm not going to do all of them because we're actually going to glue some little die cut flowers on top. So I want some of this to be flat. I don't want all the petals to pop. But we're just going to take and fluff a few of these guys. And then we're going to add some. I'll do one more over here, and that should be good. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down onto there. Now, the only reason I did the double layer is because I didn't want to see green behind when I popped up my flowers here. Okay. I didn't want to see the green cardstock from here peeking through. Okay, so I'm going to line this up and glue it on just like that. Easiest way to do it, again, because we don't want the liquid glue to kind of ooze through the holes, we're just going to use some tape, and I'm just going to line that up and layer it right on top just like that. Okay, and then you can see that we've got the pink sort of showing through. Okay, now we're going to add some of these little bitty flowers, and I have a little tip for you for adhering these as well. So they can be a little bit fussy because they're pretty teeny tiny. So I found the easiest way is to put a little puddle of liquid glue on a scrap. And then I take my blue goo end of my, take your pick. So I'm just going to get some putty going here. I pick up one of the little flowers. I just kind of take my fingers and curve it around the tip. And then dip the center of the flower in my liquid glue. And then plunk it down where I want it. Easy peasy. It's a really quick and easy way to glue these little teeny flowers down without having to fuss too much. It took me a little while to figure out a system that worked, but this is the one that I have found works best and quickest. So I'm just going to glue a few of these. We're not going to cover the whole flower. I just wanted to add a few extras to add some dimension and texture to the die cut flower. Maybe a couple more. So we'll go one here. And where else do we need one? One, I think, right smack in the middle. So we'll add that right there. Okay, super quick and easy way to adhere those little guys. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and adhere our die cut to the front of our card. All right, now I want most of my flower to be against the green background, right? Because I want it to pop against the green. If I have it kind of going up this way, I'm going to lose some of the flower against the DSP there. All right, so we're going to adhere it there. So I'm just going to take a little bit of liquid glue. I don't want to squish my flowers. So I'm just going to take a bit of liquid glue, apply that to the back of my die cut, and we're going to pop it on just like that. I'm just going to gently press that into place to give the glue a chance to set up. There we go. All right, now we need to stamp our label. So this label is cut with the Tasteful Labels dies. It's still kind of my go-to when it comes to labels. We're going to stamp To an Incredible Woman in Mossy Meadow ink. Oh, I just put my thumb in the ink. All right, so we're gonna get this centered, stamp that hopefully relatively straight, not too bad. And then we're gonna put that onto the front of our card. Now we're gonna pop this up. Okay, it's going to go on right about there. So we're going to add a couple of dimensionals. Maybe 4, because, you know, why not? And we'll get rid of our backings. And then we'll pop this on. And I want to overlap the leaf there. And I just want to make sure my label is centered on the ribbon. And hopefully straight. That's where that gingham paper comes in handy. Okay, and then we're going to tie ourselves a pretty bow. So I have some more of that same ribbon that I colored with my Fleur de Flamingo blends, the light Fleur de Flamingo. And I'm just going to go ahead and tie a ribbon. Now this is way more than I need to tie my bow, but I colored it all, so I figure I may as well use it. So we're tying our bow, pulling our tails. Now the one thing with this ribbon, because it's a little bit rough, it's got a bit of texture, so it's like a linen texture, so it will grab. So you have to do a fair bit of teasing to get your bow to look the way you want it to. You'll find as you pull one loop that the other one wants to come loose as well because it's grabbing. Okay, so there is our cute little bow. Now I need to grab my ribbon scissors. They were over on my other desk. I want to make sure I get clean cuts here. So I'm going to just fold the tail of my ribbon in half and then trim at an angle to get a nice notched end. Anytime I have wider ribbon, I like to use this treatment on the ends. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and glue that down right over the stem of our hydrangea. So I'm going to actually use 2 glue dots on this, again, just because this ribbon tends to slip a little bit. So we want to make sure it stays put. So we'll add our little bow. Okay, and then I have a few extra little flowers here. We're just going to scatter them on our label. So again, just grabbing my take your pick, a little bit of glue. We'll add one up here and one on here and one more. Oh, just enough glue. We'll do this guy kind of down here like it's scattering. Okay, and then just a little touch of gold. We're going to add a couple of metallic gold pearls. And I'm going to switch back to my pokey tool here. Hello, Lisa Ferber. How are you doing? I hope you're surviving this crazy, crazy school year. Lisa is an elementary teacher who is in the same, well, even more craziness than I am. You couldn't pay me enough to be an elementary teacher this year, that's for darn sure. All right, so that is our finished card. Now I'll just quick show you what I did on the inside of this one. I just stamped a couple of the images to kind of create sort of an abstract watercolor hydrangea. I didn't include a sentiment on the inside because I figured I could always add one. We could make it Happy Mother's Day, Happy Birthday, whatever. That sentiment works for lots of different occasions. Okay, so that's number 1 done. Hope you like that one. And now I'm going to bring in number 2. Now number 2 I have not posted yet. I'll post this one tomorrow with some details. But this one is another way to use the dies along with some stamps in a way that's quite simple. And of course I had to bring in those gorgeous butterflies that are on promotion this month because I couldn't resist. So we are going to start with a piece of basic white cardstock. It's 5 1/4 by 4. Okay, and it is, we're going to stamp some of this sort of, it's sort of a blotchy pattern. Let me get the stamp set and then I can show you which one I mean. It's this one here, okay? It's kind of meant to fill in this. However, it also kind of works as an abstract leaf, which is what I used it for here. Oh, hi, Arlene. Oh, you like that green, or you don't use the green DSP. Yeah, it is a great, I actually love the green DSP, but the other side is so pretty, it's hard to decide when to use it. So I have here some Pear Pizzazz ink. So I'm taking that stamp and I'm just going to stamp some leaves. I'm just kind of creating a bit of a background for where I'm going to adhere my hydrangeas. So I'm going to stamp some full strength to start. And then I'm going to do a couple stamped off. So we'll stamp on the grid paper and do a couple stamped off. And again, that's just going to add depth and some texture. Anytime you can add layers, it creates depth on your cards. Okay, we'll do a couple more down here. Woo! Drop the stamp. Good thing it landed right side up. Okay, and then I'm going to add just a little hint of a couple of leaves here. We'll just do a couple kind of this way. Okay, that doesn't look like much right now, but give it a minute. We'll get there. Okay, now we're going to take our 3 hydrangea heads. Now I need to tell you where I cut these from. So the DSP, remember that green DSP we used on the last card? And I mentioned how gorgeous the other side of it is. So the other side, here's a full sheet. Here is that DSP. So all I did is I took that die and I sort of placed it over these hydrangea heads to get different colored hydrangeas. And isn't that pretty the way it looks once you die cut it? I absolutely love the look of those. So again, we're going to use my little fluff and puff technique here with our take your pick. And sometimes it's quicker to do just with your fingers. It depends on how well your piece is die cut. But if you just kind of bend it a little bit, those petals pop up pretty easily. And again, you don't need to have them all popped to get the effect. So it's really just a matter of kind of bending and folding. You can use the petal end as well if you have some that you're having trouble getting to pop up. But it's just a matter of fluffing them up a little bit. Okay, to give that die cut a little bit of dimension. So we're gonna do the same thing with each one. Sorry, this is a little bit boring. I should have done some of these ahead of time. Just use your fingernails. If you don't have fingernails, use your take your pick. I told my husband I could never get my nails cut too short because they are my crafting tools. Every crafter needs to have nails. It's hard to craft without them. I could never work with gel nails. That would drive me crazy. I feel like they're too thick. My good old natural nails will have to do. You'll never see me with a fancy manicure on a video. I'm sorry if that bothers anybody. That's just the way it is. So we'll get these last few fluffed up a bit. I just love the way these die cuts look when they're cut from the DSP. They're just so pretty. And honestly, they totally remind me of my hydrangeas that I have upstairs. That sort of multi-colored variegated look. All right, so there are my 3 hydrangeas, okay? So now these are going to get adhered. Now we're gonna adhere these with mini dimensionals. I'm using minis because I don't want to see them through where I've popped up the petals. So I'm gonna kind of strategically place a couple where I haven't got petals popped, all right? Because I don't want to see the mini dimensionals. So we're just going to grab the backings off this one. And we'll glue this light purple down first. So I'm just kind of gluing it centered where my leaves are. Okay. And then I'm going to add the dark purple. So same deal. Add a couple of minis to spots where they're not going to show through. There we go. Get rid of that backing. I don't know why it is, but I find the backings on minis harder to peel off than the regular ones. Maybe it's just because they're small. I don't know. All right, and then finally our blue one is going to overlap like that. It can extend off the edge a little bit because we are going to layer this on our card base. So we have a little bit of wiggle room in terms of allowing it to extend off the edge. So we'll just add those, and I'm going to put just a teeny bit of tape on this top bit where it's going to overlap my other flower heads. So we'll pop that on just like that. So I kind of feel like this one needs to move over a little bit. Let's just angle that a bit more. And that gives us a little bit more space for our blue one without covering up our purple one too much. Okay, aren't they pretty? So, so pretty. Now here I wanted to add a little bit more definition to my stamped leaves. So I cut a couple more of the stems. So the same detailed stem that we used on the last card. And all I'm going to do is just trim off, whoops, I got a piece stuck to that. I'm going to trim off the leaves. So I'm just going to take my snips and cut the leaves off the stems. And then we're just going to tuck some leaves in over top of where we've stamped the leaves, just to add a little bit more interest. So, oh, look at that one. That one doesn't have any adhesive on it, so we may not use that one because they are a bit of a pain in the neck. Now I might be able to get away with using a glue dot, we'll see. But we'll start with the ones that have adhesive on the back. So we'll get rid of our backings and our bits here. And we're just gonna start kind of tucking leaves in here and there. Just kind of building our little bouquet of hydrangeas. So I don't know if you've looked at a pot of hydrangeas recently, but there's lots of leaves and they're beautiful. The dark green of the leaves of hydrangeas just makes the flowers pop so much more. We'll add this guy up here. And get rid of our little bits here. Come here, you. And we'll get this backing off. And we'll put this guy. I think we'll kind of put that one there. And then we have one more little guy that has adhesive on the back, and then we might have to get creative. So we'll put this little guy down here because he fits. And then we've got this big guy that has no adhesive. So we're actually going to put a glue dot just at the base and very gently peel that off the roll because these are delicate. And then I'm just going to tuck that underneath and it will stick even though I've only got adhesive on the base of it. I'll do the same thing with this little guy. And we'll add it down here like that, just peeking out there. Okay, so there's our bouquet. Now we need to do a little bit of stamping, so we're going to stamp our sentiment, and wouldn't you know it, I put my leaves over too far for that to fit, so we're going to use a different sentiment. Let's do the same to an incredible woman, same one we did on the last card. On my sample I used the world is better because of you, but I forgot to leave enough space, but that's okay. We can change it because we are crafters and we are creative. So I'm going to pull out my Mossy Meadow ink again. And this one I might actually put my sentiment down lower because it's a little bit smaller. I'm going to kind of nestle it in here, I think. Just change it up a little bit. Yep, that works for me. So pretty. All right, so we're going to go ahead and glue that onto our card base. So I have a Pear Pizzazz card base. It's 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. So we'll fold that in half along our score line. And then I'm actually going to put my adhesive on my card base just so I don't squish my flowers when I go to glue it down. So we'll pop this on just like this. Okay. And then I have one of these gorgeous die cut butterflies. These are cut using the Butterfly Brilliant, or the Brilliant Wings, Butterfly Brilliance, I think they're Brilliant Wings, Butterfly Brilliance, whatever the new dies are that are on promotion this month. They're cut from vellum. All right, so I want to just bend the wings ever so gently because I want it to look like this butterfly is just landing on my bouquet of hydrangeas. So I'm taking my bone folder and very, very gently burnishing the wings. Okay, so you can see that they're curved like that. You don't want to go too hard with the bone folder or you will tear your vellum. These are really delicate die cuts. So now I'm just taking a couple of glue dots. I'm going to roll them up a little bit so that they're a bit smaller. Press the body of my butterfly into the vellum, and then I'm just going to press it onto my hydrangeas like that. Okay, now you can see those glue dots through the vellum, so one solution is to add a pretty bow. Bows are always the answer, right? So we're going to go ahead and curl another little glue dot. I'm going to press the knot. This bow was tied from another project, so you're not getting a bow tying lesson today. Sorry, folks. And add it there. Isn't that pretty? Love it. And I love those hydrangeas cut from the DSP. So don't be afraid to die cut your DSP. Even though it's gorgeous as it is, it does make beautiful hydrangea heads. Okay. Now on the inside of this, I stamped just a simple little sentiment and just a cute little flower from the stamp set. Okay. Thanks, Arlene. I love flower arranging, whether they're paper or real. All right. Last card is a fun fold. Now I'm going to give you a disclaimer. Every single time I do a fun fold in a live video, I screw up somehow. So brace yourself. Now I'm hoping this one's easy enough that I don't mess it up. I posted this one earlier today. Arrow fold cards, I avoided them for a long time because I was convinced there was a whole lot of fancy cutting that I just didn't want to bother doing. And then I finally tried one and they're so easy. I was shocked at how easy they are. And now I'm a little bit addicted. So here we go. I'm going to show you how I made this card. If you've done an arrow fold before, you know that they're really not all that complicated. But I just love the look and the way it sets off your focal image. And I think they stand up quite nicely on the desk too. So I'm going to show you how to do this one. Buckle your seatbelts, because as I said, I tend to screw these things up when I do fun folds in a live, but here we go. All right, we don't need our trimmer yet. First thing we're going to do, I have my just standard card base. It's 5.5 by 8.5. I need to score it first. So I'm going to score just like I would on a regular card at 4 1/4. Make sure I don't have my cutting blade, because that's another thing I've done on the live video. All right, now I'm going to do a little bit of measuring, and it's not difficult measuring. All right, essentially what I need to do is find the halfway point between the edge and my score line. So this was 4 1/4. So half of 4 1/4 is 2 1/8. So I'm going to measure just on my grid paper here and mark 2 1/8 with a pencil, because we are going to erase these lines afterwards. 2 1/8 on each side. So I got 2 1/8 here and 2 1/8 there. Okay, that's the middle point of this section. Then I need to do the same thing on this side. So I need to find the middle point of this side. So this was 5.5. So the middle half of 5.5 is 2 3/4. So again, I'm going to lay this on my grid paper and mark 2 3/4. So now I have my halfway point there. Okay, that's all the measuring, like literally just finding the halfway point on 3 sides. That's it. Okay, now we're going to do some scoring, and I'm going to show you a little tip. You don't have to have a fancy scoring tool or a scoring blade. If you have a cutter, a paper trimmer, and a bone folder, you have all you need to score. In fact, I prefer to use this method when I'm scoring diagonals than my Simply Scored. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually fold my score line here just so that you can see it a little bit easier. We'll just give that a quick burnish. Okay, that'll just make it easier to see. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to place my cardstock into my trimmer. I'm going to line up in the cutting track the score line and the halfway point on my long side. Okay, so that's my long side. There's my halfway point there and my score line. So I'm just going to line those up so that they both line up in the cutting track. All right, make sure that's straight. And then I'm just going to take my bone folder and score in the cutting track. Okay, and you get a nice straight diagonal score line there. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So again, lining up my score line and my little tick mark and score again. Okay, so now I have 2 diagonal scores. Makes a big triangle in the middle. So far, so good. All right, next I'm going to use this little tick mark and line this tick mark and this one up. So same thing, but instead of using the score line now, I'm using that center point on the side and the center point on the bottom. So again, I'm going to come in and score. All right, so now I have well, 3 triangles here now. Same thing on this side. Line up my tick mark in my cutting track and score. All right, can you see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 triangles now? Pretty simple. That's it. That's all the scoring. Nothing fancy. No, astrophysics degree required. Okay, now before we do anything else, I'm going to take and erase my little pencil marks because that is all I need on this one. Okay, before I put my trimmer away, I am going to take a piece of designer series paper. So this is more, here you go, Arlene, there's more of that beautiful paper. And I am going to measure the middle on one side. Now, I want to make sure that this is right side up, okay, because this is directionally specific. So I want to make sure that my hydrangeas are growing up and down. This is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it's half of a card, right? It's a full card front. So again, I'm going to mark that halfway point with my pencil, and I'm going to actually bring in my trimmer. And just like I did when I was scoring, I'm going to line up my top left corner with my score mark. And here's a tip for cutting diagonals. When you're trying to cut clean corners, the easiest way to do it is to actually start with your blade on the paper. So press it in, go down and up. And that just keeps your blade from catching and tearing your paper. Okay, so I've done one side. I'm going to do the same thing on the other. So line up my corner and my little tick mark. Start with my blade on the paper, up and then down. Okay, so now I have my DSP cut into 3 triangles. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Just wanted to do it while I had my trimmer out. Now we're going to come back to some folding. All right, so we had our base already folded in half. Okay, so I'm going to open that up, and this first large triangle, these first score lines, I'm going to fold them both inwards. So I'm going to fold this guy in and this guy in. Okay, so there are those 2. That gives me a nice triangle. Can you see where I'm going with this? That's my triangle for the front of my card. Now we have these other little score lines. They are going to get folded out. So I'm going to fold this guy out and this guy out. And hopefully get a nice clean point here. That was not so clean. I didn't do a very good job of folding that. Okay, and then you want to burnish really well because you want these to lie nice and flat. Okay, so that gives us our arrow fold. How easy is that? Like so simple. Now we do need to glue these down, so I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive in on these middle triangles here and just press those into place. Just want to burnish them well so they stay put. Okay, and then these 2 little flaps need to get glued this way. So again, I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive. And I would recommend using something fairly strong. You could use Tombow, but you're going to have to give it time to set up, okay, to make sure that it has time to adhere. Tombow will work. Stampin' Seal or Seal Plus is also a great choice. Come on, work with me. So again, we'll add our adhesive, just burnish that really well, and that gives us our card base. So simple. All right, now I'm just going to give this another good burnish so that it's nice and flat. All right, now we're going to come back to our DSP that we cut into 3 triangles. All right, I'm going to take these 2 and set them aside for a minute. So this is the one that is going to go as our focal point. Okay, it's going to go right on the center of that. Okay, now I wanted just a delicate little bit of a border here, and I remembered we had this beautiful Purple Posy linen scalloped ribbon. All right, so what I did, it's actually quite a bit wider. I cut a length of ribbon in half lengthwise, so I used half on my sample, and we're going to use the other half on the one that I'm making. So what I'm going to do is take and apply some seal right along the 2 edges where I want, did I do that right? No, I did not. It needs to go on this edge. Okay, so I'm going to put my ribbon this way. So then it's just a matter of taking and laying your ribbon along that edge, pressing it into place. The seal is nice and strong, so it will hold it. Okay, when I get to the point, I just kind of tucked it in and came around the point. I didn't even really worry about tapering it because it sticks quite nicely. So we're just going to tuck that in there. Just like that. I could have gone all the way around, I suppose, if I wanted to, but I just wanted it on the point. So I'm going to trim off the excess. Okay, whenever I'm doing this kind of thing, I always like to have a little bit of extra so I don't have to worry about trying to get it perfectly aligned. And then it's just easy to trim off the extra. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more adhesive to the middle of this, and then we're going to go ahead and glue this onto the front of our card. So we're going to center it on our triangle. Actually, it might be easier to do if I open it there. It's easier to see. We'll center that like that. And there we go. Beautiful little scallop touch. Okay. All right. Oh yeah, this ribbon, it's a great way. I love using the little scallops as a border. Kelly, give it a try. It's a great way to use that ribbon. All right, so there is my card front. Now back to these two pieces. We're gonna use those on the inside of our card. So what we're gonna do is take and flip these pieces over and invert them, okay? And they are going to go right here. So we're using the same piece of DSP, but we get to showcase both sides of it. All right, now to make this easier, because I wanted to have a white surface to write on the inside, I cut a 5.5 by 4.25 inch piece of white cardstock. And we're gonna go ahead and adhere our triangles to that and then adhere it inside the card. So again, actually I'm going to use some liquid glue for this, just so I have wiggle time to get it nice and straight. So I'll add a little liquid glue, and we're going to pop that right on so it's flush with the edges on our white piece. Okay, and then same thing on this one. Pop that one on there. And again, I need to pick this up so I can see that I'm aligning it properly. Okay, and then that is going to get adhered inside my card just like that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and glue that down. Now you just want to make sure when you're gluing this in that you're not gluing it too high. You want to make sure your card will still close. And I just noticed that this is a little bit wider than it should be, so this is not going to cover completely. Rats. Should have checked that before. My measurements were off just a teeny bit. That little white gap should not show. Do you see that? Oh well, it is what it is. This is why we measure twice, cut once, right? All right, gives you the idea. So there we go. Told you I screw up every single fun fold that I do. All right, now let's finish off this card. So we are going to create another little hydrangea here. Now this is a little bit different. I don't have, if you look at my sample, I don't have the full flower, the full stem. So what I did, I started out the same way I did on the first card. So I have my solid die cut and my detailed die cut. So I'm going to go ahead and layer those. So we'll peel off our backing here and pop that on. And again, I like to start with the largest leaf, get that aligned, and then kind of work from there. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue on my hydrangea head. Now this will line up perfectly. I just have to find exactly where it goes. Goes through, no, not there. Let's try it this way. There, no, there we go. So that is going to glue right down onto our green layer. So we're going to add a little bit of adhesive. Oh, got a little bit of ribbon in there. That's okay. And we're going to pop that on there. Just like that. Okay, and then I'm actually going to take and cut off the stem. Now I want to see like more the edge of this leaf, so I'm actually going to kind of take and cut around the detailed leaf and then cut my stem off that way. Okay, because when I put this on, I'm actually going to nestle my label just like that. Okay, so that my hydrangea head is here and my leaves are kind of peeking out the bottom. So before we do that, we need to stamp our label. So I have You Make Me Smile, and I also have this little smudgy. So this is like another little splotch from the stamp set. Again, I'll just show you which one it is. It's this one here. Okay, again, it just looks like a little watercolor wash. And we're going to stamp that first on our label. So this label is die cut using the Potted Succulents dies. It's my other go-to label. So I'm going to ink up my stamp with some Highland Heather. I'm going to stamp off once because I want this to be very light. And then I'm just going to kind of stamp across the middle of the, middle of the label, just like that. Okay, just gives a subtle little bit to the background. And then I'm going to bring in my You Make Me Smile stamp and my Mossy Meadow ink. We're going to ink that up. I have some seal here on my grid paper and it's making everything stick to it. And we're going to stamp that centered on our label like that. Okay, so pretty. All right, so now this is ready to go on to our hydrangea. So again, we're gonna layer this so that the leaves are kind of peeking out, the hydrangea's peeking out. It just kind of looks like a little bouquet there behind it. So the easiest way to do that is to just add a little bit of seal to the back of our label. And we're gonna put it on right about there. Okay. Now, before we put this onto our card, we're going to add a little bit of gold cord. I just wanted to have a little something separating the hydrangea from the background so that it stands out a little bit. So we're going to add a little bit of adhesive to the back of our hydrangea. And then this is the gold cord from the Forever Greenery suite. I really hope this cord sticks around when the catalog retires because I love it. It is like my favorite embellishment. It just works for so many things. So I'm just making a couple of little loops here, nothing fancy, just kind of looping it on the back of my hydrangea. Okay, I'm going to trim it off the roll and then we'll have a look and rearrange if necessary. So let's have a look at that. Okay, so that's going the wrong direction, so I want this to come out this way. So let's just pull these over. The best thing about this stuff is it sticks really well with the seal, but if you get it in the wrong spot, it's easy to pull it up and reposition. Let's just put that right about there. That's good. I'll make those a bit wider. Just need a little bit of seal here. Whoop, hold that in place. Come on. Work with me. There we go. So we'll pull that over and pull that up. There we go. Beautiful. Make sure we can see all three loops. All right, so that is going to go onto the front of our card. We're going to add a few dimensionals to the back of our hydrangea. So we need to think about where it's going to overlap the triangle and where it's not. Okay, so this little leaf is not going to be on. We don't want to put a dimensional here because that will stick our card shut, right? So we just want to make sure when we're placing these that we are being strategic and not putting them in a place where it's going to cause us problems with opening and closing our card. So we'll get rid of our backings. What else would I use that stamp? Oh, you mean the smudgy stamp, Deb? Is that the one you're asking about? You'll have to come back on Friday because I have lots of uses for that stamp. There's my little teaser. How's that for an answer to your question? So we're going to go ahead and center our label and our hydrangea on the front of our card. All right, just like that. And then I have some more little die cut flowers. This die cuts all of these at once, which is awesome. I love that they did that. I hate fussing with little teeny tiny itty bitty dies. So this is a larger die and it cuts a whole bunch of flowers at once, which is just fantastic. So we're going to do our little glue trick again here. And I'm going to add a couple of these little guys sort of here and there, kind of like they're petals falling off of this hydrangea that's in the background. So we will add a couple. So one there. So yes, Friday night's live will be in prime time. So we'll be at 7:30 on Friday evening. Okay, it's not a 5 o'clock on Friday. It will be a 7:30. So plan to join me. It is all about the simple stamping on Friday because I want to show just how fabulous the stamp set is and how perfect it is for beginners and seasoned crafters alike. So we're going to add just a couple of pearls, just one little pearl. These are the gold metallic pearls. We're going to add one to the center of each of these little bitty blooms. And again, I'm using the pokey tool from my Take Your Pick. Now we do have the pastel pearls that coordinate with this suite. They are back in stock, yeehaw. But they're just a little bit too large to fit in the center of these little teeny flowers, which is why I use the gold ones. All right, there you go. There's your finished card. This one has a little bit of an oopsie, but we're not going to talk about that. We'll look at the good one. Okay, so that is your video for today. So there are our 3 projects. Now, before we go, I have to talk about our new Cross Border Crafters online class because I am so excited about this one. This is a choose your own adventure class. So let me just clear away some mess here and then I will bring in the projects. So those are our projects for today. Hope you enjoyed those. But I want to show you what we have on offer for our newest online class. So this is, as I mentioned, a choose your own adventure class. So you can choose, there's 3 options, okay? The first option is to make this beautiful spring sampler that Michelle designed. Showcases the DSP and all kinds of fun die cuts. So pretty. So that is option 1, all right? If you are not into samplers and home decor, you can use the same elements and create 5 cards. So the 5 cards, 1, 2, look how cute that is, 3, 4, and a fun fold easel card, 5. Okay, so that is option 2, using the same elements from the sampler to create 5 cards. If you can't decide which you like better, you can opt for option 3. Let me just make some space here, which is where you get the 5 cards and the sampler. So just the sampler or just the cards is free with a $60 order. If you want both, they are free with a $75 order. All right. So again, you can choose 1, 2, or 3, which means both, for free for a $75 order. All right, so now ordering for this, the window is fairly short. Deadline to order is by April 1st, with the goal of having these out and in the mail shortly afterwards. Now, the other bonus in this class, you're going to see, I don't know if you look too closely at this, there are a million pearls. Michelle went a little pearl crazy when she was designing this. So you are going to actually get a free pack of basic pearls included in your kit. Okay, so that's an extra little bonus this month. That's our Easter gift from us to you. And as I said, free with a $60 order, free with a $60 order, free with a $75 order. All right, there is a post on my page here, probably just below this video, where you can get all the details. I will pin it to the top of my page so it's easy to find, and the host code information is there. All right. Okay, everybody, thanks so much for joining me tonight. Get outside if it's warm where you are. Go for a walk. Enjoy the sunshine. And I will see you on Friday evening at 7:30 Eastern Time for some simple stamping with the Hydrangea Haven stamp set. Bye for now.